Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. It's time to revisit Purrely once again. Everyone's favorite, sweet little nondescript mammal that has multiple forms. That's totally not Eevee. Anyway, so yeah, Purrely. This is a deck that, if you look at untapped numbers, has actually been having quite a high win rate. Not just this season, but really ever since the Little Noir, Purrely Noir came out, right? Honestly, that was... I was a little skeptical when it first came out if that card alone would really give Purrely the resurgence that it needed to stay meta-relevant, but it actually did. I think it showed us that Purrely, even with the one delicious memory, is still quite the formidable deck. The Purrely herself, of course, the main monster, not the Purrely. Purrely herself is still semi-limited, but honestly, this is one of those limits that kind of doesn't really matter. If you look at a lot of, or at least some of the TCG lists that I've seen of Purrely decks that do well, sometimes only even play the two Purrely anyway. So I think that this will end up being one of those, like, Tri-Brigade, Fractal, Lyrilusk, Cobalt Sparrow, I think was the one that was hit. One of those semi-limits is going to be super unnecessary, and hopefully will be undone at some point in the near future. But honestly, I think that Purrely it's kind of one of those decks that you don't hear people complain a lot about, and sometimes the metric by which you can tell if a Yu-Gi-Oh deck is good is how often it gets complained about. But in spite of that, I do think that Purrely does still remain one of the best Tier 2 decks of the current format. I think it is definitely up there, and again, if you look at the win rate on Untapped, it is definitely up there in terms of win rate in higher ranks like Diamond and Master. So, of course, one of the advantages that Purrely does have in a meta like this is that it's able to play a ton of different hand traps. It has a lot of room for that kind of a thing, which is kind of one of the reasons why I've never been a fan of stuff like the Dark World package. Particularly playing like Snows and a Brow in Purrely, right? Because I'll still, not very often, of course, but very occasionally, I'll still get asked, like, oh, don't you ever want to try the Dark World stuff in Purrely so you have a good card to discard? And the answer is actually not really at all. I don't think it's, like, horrible, but I do think it is unoptimal. Because here's the way I see it, right? Like, I don't really think it benefits you to put in cards that are only good when discarded right, and don't really have any other function in the deck. I would rather play cards that have high utility and have a lot of function in a lot of different situations, and then if they happen to not be good, then we can discard them for the Purrely stuff. I think that's the right way to view it, right? Because, again, if you put in cards that specifically want to be discarded, then those are just situational, right? Whereas the general utility stuff, like even stuff like Nibiru that might be slightly situational, is still useful more of the time, not only for its own function, but then also to be able to be discarded as well. One thing that another thing that I've noticed people say is that a lot of people are like, 3 of the field spell, really? That seems like a lot. I think 3 of the field spell is definitely the way to go. I want to open this card as much of the time as possible, and also with the Purrely Noir combo, that line will set up a 4 material Noir, so that's why I'm so eager to open the field spell, right? Because it not only gives the Purrely Noir target protection, but it also will give you an extra draw by placing a Sleeping Memory, and that 5th material will also make the Purrely Noir become unaffected by activated effects by, of course, its ability. So that's why 3 of the field spell, and if, as you know, with everything else, if you end up dead drawing a copy or have an extra copy, you can always just discard it for Purrely stuff. So I think that's why you can get away with stuff like that in this deck, and why you'll see Purrely decks more often than other decks on like a second nib, or maybe some going second cards. Like, I know I talk a lot about, like, you know, don't ever play evenly or other similar board breakers in a deck where you want to go first. However, if you were going to jam random evenly matches into a deck that wants to go first, this would be the one to do it, because again, you can just discard evenlies that you open with going first with copies of your Purrely quick play spells. So in that regard, there's kind of no dead card in this deck. And you might be thinking, well, okay, if that's true, then why not play the Dark Worlds to get extra draws? Because those cards are dead when they're not being discarded. Again, every other card has a function and then can also be discarded, making them live more of the time. So, extra deck, I don't think I've really changed at all. I mean, I don't think I was on Link Rebo before, but honestly, Link Rebo here is mostly just to go into SP to get the banish if you need to, right? I don't know, I feel like this list, including the main and extra, is pretty standard, but this is the kind of list I like to play, right? Especially if it's a deck that I'm not, like, necessarily wouldn't consider myself a main of. Like, I don't consider myself a Purrely main, but I think the deck is easy enough to pick up that, especially when you're playing a kind of clean build like this, that's all engine and disruption and not much else, then it's not that hard to pick up some wins with the deck here. I said it before last time too, and I'll say it again. I do think that this is probably one of the best decks if you're, like, not necessarily new to Yu-Gi-Oh, but new to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, and you're like, what is a good meta deck I can play that's not necessarily tier 1, but can definitely compete with tier 1 and is easy to learn, cheap, but also, like, rewards you as far as, like, mastering the deck and becoming more skillful with it? Purrely. The answer is 100% Purrely, in my opinion. Alright, so I think, yeah, that's going to do it for the deck profile breakdown. So let's, break down the deck card by card here. And then we can move on to some games. Alright, we're on 3 Effect Veiler, 2 Purrely, 3 Purrely. We got 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 3 Stray Purrely Street, 3 My Friend Purrely, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Purrely Happy Memory, 3 Purrely Pretty Memory, 1 Purrely Delicious Memory, 3 Purrely Sleepy Memory, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then 1 Purrleap. And that's going to do it for the main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Sylvan Princess Sprite, 1 Lyrilusc, Assembled Nightingale, 2 Epurley Happiness, 2 Epurley Beauty, 1 Epurley Plump, 1 Epurley Noir, 1 Downward Magician, 2 Expurley Noir, 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus Sky Thunder, 1 Link Rebo, 1 Relinquished Shanima, and then 1 SP Little Knight. That's going to do it for our list. Let's see some duels. Okay, so our first opponent is going to be on Floowandereeze, but more than that, I think that this is a good game to demonstrate the kind of general Purrely game plan, right? So, great opening hand we have here. I love seeing the Purrely Street, the triple tack, and having at least one of the quick play spells. Means that if nothing else, we can find the Purrely. We can use Purrely's effects to grab the My Friend Purrely, activate My Friend Purrely. I want to get that street down, of course, because it'll make special summon to Purrely monsters untargetable, meaning they can't Veiler or Imperm the Purrely. So here we managed to find a Sleepy Memory and then go for a Purrely here. And I really need a quick play spell, and not only did I find a quick play spell, it was even Sleepy Memory, probably the best one in particular to get. Now we can use the Purrely to copy the Sleepy Memory in the yard, go for Epurley Noir. The reason why you want another quick play spell is to activate while Noir is on the field. We can chain the effects to set a Purrely trap card directly from the deck. That's going to be our Purrleap. That's also why we only play 1 copy, is because this card is searchable. Since I have a leftover Purrely, I'm just going to use it to go into Link Rebo, because I was like, why not? We'll just set that up. End phase field spell attaches the 3rd Sleepy Memory from our deck, and there we go. That's a pretty simple way of showing how we are able to not only set up the Expurley Noir for the opponent's turn, but we're also going to get the draw 6 during the standby phase. We're going to draw 3 off of the Epurley Noir Sleepy Memory effects that are underneath it. And these are soft once per turns, meaning once per copy. Okay, so some people, especially if you're new to Purrely, kind of don't get why you can draw 3 twice, like a total of 6. Here's the best way I can think to explain it. It's because Purrely Sleepy Memory is a soft once per turn, meaning it's once per attached copy per Exceeds monster that it's attached to. That probably sounds a little confusing, but basically, you get 1 draw for every sleepy memory. That's what the once per turn means. 1 draw for every sleepy memory that's attached to one of your Xyz monsters. Since we swapped into a new Xyz monster that still has sleepy memories attached, these are kind of counted as new copies of sleepy memory, and you get, again, one sleepy memory per copy attached to the Xyz monster per Xyz monster. Again, that sounds a little bit convoluted, but that's the best way I can think to explain it. I think a lot of us know by this point that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of like TCG for rules lawyers, so hopefully your inner rules lawyer was able to understand where I was going with that. Here I am going to use the Ash Blossom on the Rabina. Opponent's going to chain the Floowandereeze and the Advent of Adventure. Didn't draw that many other hand traps that I can really use here. We did get an imperm, but of course we have cards on the field. That's also why, by the way, if you're playing Purrely, I would always max out on copies of Effect Veilers before playing imperms, right? Generally speaking, like, for example, if I had 2 Effect Veiler and 2 imperm, and I wanted another negate, I would always add the 3rd Effect Veiler first. For this exact reason, right? When you draw on your opponent's turn, you would rather draw Veilers than imperms, because you can use them right away, so. They are going to search and then activate the Magnificent Map, the field spell. I'm going to immediately spin that back with the Purrely Noir. And now they don't have any more normal summons, because Rabina was negated and Map is no longer on the field. During the end phase, I'm also going to put back the card they set, so they can't use it against us. Reattach a sleepy memory from the graveyard, and then back over to our turn. Gonna normal summon this Purrely I drew. Just grabbing another My Friend, because I don't really have anything else so that I want to search here. My Friend revealing 2 pretty and a delicious. We actually managed to find the delicious here, which means we are all going to be able to set up another monster with a lot of Xyz materials. I could do another Purrely Noir here, but I decided to go for a big Zeus instead. Well, I mean, we'll get to that here in a moment, but yeah, here's the Plump. Plump attaching the Delicious, of course, and then using the effect to attach My Friend and Triple Attack from the yard. Gonna use Purrely's effect to reveal Pretty Memory, and then go into the Purrely Beauty. Could have activated Pretty to get another... Oh no, I'm actually out of Purrely's in deck. Also, if I want to deal damage, the Pretty Memory just gives them life points, and would be a little counterproductive here. So, this is not going to be an OTK. It is actually a little difficult for Purrely to OTK sometimes. In that regard, and also just because of how it likes to play its games out, I kind of consider Purrely to be a control deck, because you're really just owning the board more than often than not. During our end phase, Purrely is going to put the Noir back into our extra deck, but I'm not concerned about that. We have the Beauty to negate, we have an Ash Blossom, we have an Imperm down, and we have Zeus if things go really south, so... yeah, they're going to lead with Jack in the hand. I'm just going to Ash Blossom that. That's how confident I am I can stop my opponent's plays. But he did actually have Rabina anyway, which is a little surprising. But yeah, we have the Purrely Beauty to negate it. And even if they had, like, just, you know, a monster negate in general or whatever here, we can flip up Imperm and then just simply negate it with that as well. Alright, they can battle over Linkribo. This is completely fine. I can even add a material to Zeus as a result of that. That's right. Of course, going to put on the Maxi, which does literally nothing against this deck here. Can even use the Yeep to put back all of my Purrely monsters in the graveyard for more recycling for the long game. That's another reason why this is I consider this to be more of a control deck. I can use the Pretty Memory effect of Purrely Beauty to simply attach to Rabina and then swing in for lethal here. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good game to demonstrate pretty much exactly what Purrely is trying to do, right? And how it often plays as more of a control deck than like what you would think of for a lot of more combo-focused decks, right? Again, this deck does not typically like win by OTKing, but more often, although it can do that. Like we do have a combo line to OTK, but you can also just play the control game and win out that way as well. The reason the OTK isn't as consistent is because you do need Delicious, which is, of course, limited. So, all right. That'll do it for that game. But we still, of course, have a few more to see. Let's check out the next one. All right, let's see a duel against the big bad of the current format. Let's see how we fare against Fire King Snake Eye. Okay, looks like we are taking the first move here. Good to see that. And another very good opening hand. Really opening just about any 2 Purrely quick play spells is like the way to go for sure. Opponent's got a Maxi in response to the Sleepy Memory, but we have Ash Blossom. This hand is actually really, really good the more I look at it here. We're going to Ash Blossom the Maxi. One thing you do have to be mindful of is that if you want to summon, you do need to discard. So I'm going to discard Imperm here. Going to Purrely for the My Friend and then go for the My Friend. But even if it gets stopped for whatever reason, I can definitely just use the Pretty Memory in hand. Well, it's going to Kieran for Kieran. Try to activate the Kieran that they popped. I'm going to be absolutely called by that. They're going to also use the Ponix in hand. This is fine. This is something that Fire King sometimes does, is kind of play on your turn a little bit. If they open Kieran, they can like potentially pop stuff from hand. Although, to be fair... Oh, they would have summoned the Ponix from hand and then popped. Right. I was going to say they don't have a card to summon, so they can't destroy a card in the field, which was the main reason why I use Call By here. But no, if they have the Ponix in hand, then they would have simply summoned it off the Kieran effect and not its own effect. And then, yeah, they could have destroyed my Purrely and severely messed up my turn. Although maybe they would have gone for My Friend. I don't know. I think you should go for Purrely in this situation. Alright, so here I'm going to My Friend, revealing 2 Sleepy and a Delicious. We find the Sleepy here. Get a copy. Not copy, I always call it copying. Gonna use the Purrely effect targeting the Sleepy that's already in my graveyard to go for the Purrely Noir. Like I said, this is gonna be like pretty typical stuff here, as far as like turn 1 combo lines moving forward. Attach and then set the Yeep. And I think I do actually, yeah, I do use the effect here to summon Purrely from my deck. And we do actually, wow, we find another Pretty Memory. Purrely was a very, very good kitty. A very good kitty this playtesting session. Finding not only quick way spells, but usually just the exact quick way spell I need for that given situation. So I'm going to pass with the X-Purrely setup as well as the Purrely Beauty here. We get to draw 4 this time, 2 off the Purrely Noir, and then Yeep into the X-Purrely to draw another 2. I'm liking the Ash Blossom that we top decked already here as well. That can potentially negate the Fire King Island because we know they search Sanctuary. Ooh, and Maxi, of course, also extremely good. Alright, here's Sanctuary for Island. Island effect is going to activate. That's right, we don't even have to use the Ash Blossom here. I can use X-Purrely Noir's effect. Because here's the thing, right? Fire King Island only destroys all monsters on the opponent's field if it's sent to the graveyard or banished. X-Purrely Noir is going to put it back in the deck, so it won't trigger that effect. But field spell cards do need to remain face up on the field to resolve. So because we are doing this mid-resolution, the effect will end up fizzling and they won't get the search here. So from there, our opponent's going to link off the Kieran and the Ponix going for SP Little Knight. Normal summoning Poplar. I'm going to chain the Ash Blossom on the Poplar, mostly because they have 1 card left in their hand, which actually turns out to be a Called by the Grave. Not ideal, but not horrible either. I mean, we still have I should have just used Purrely Beauty's effect, actually. I don't know why I didn't do that. Instead of Ash Blossom. I could have saved the Ash Blossom for the original Sin. Yeah, that would have definitely been the smarter way to do it. Opponent not using the SP here. They're just going to go straight for the Promethean Princess, but really, as soon as that Promethean Princess comes down, I can just, yeah, use the X-Purrely Noir, put it back in the extra deck. They're going to use the original Sin. I'm going to chain my Maxi here, and we still have the Purrely Beauty effect on field to negate, and yeah, they're just going to concede. Because if they would have summoned Ash or Oak, which would have been their only target stuff, I could have just negated it on summon. Purrely Beauty is like Valor and Imperm. It does negate it, the whole effect for the entire turn. So they wouldn't have been able to use like either their on summon effect or their send to summon from deck effect. So yeah, that's also again on top of them being under the Maxi as well. So yeah, another pretty good, pretty relatively typical looking Purrely game we got here. Let's see some more duels. Alright, this one's going to be against Kashtira Stun, which I notice more and more often is typically how Cash is played. Like if you're going to see a pure Kashtira deck nowadays with all of the like hits and limit saves taken, you're probably going to see them jamming like Macrocosmos, Necro Valley, maybe Summon Limit, I think it was in our opponent's deck in particular, just to kind of give the deck more to do, right? If they don't open plays, then they can maybe open a floodgate and stop the opponent from playing until they are able to top deck something. But yeah, here I'm not really narrating too much of what's going on. We did have a bad kitty here, which was not able to find a quick play spell or any cards to excavate into our hand, but it's okay. We already have another quick play spell, so it's really not that big of a deal. Now here, interestingly enough, we actually managed to open... Did we open the Delicious, or did we search it? We searched it, so we revealed 2 Sleepy and a Delicious off of the My Friend, and here we actually did find the Delicious, which means we can go for the Purrely Noir during our turn rather than the opponent's. We're going to get less draws, like we'll only get 2 instead of the 4 here, but I think that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Oh no, I only drew 2 cards, darn. with my untargetable towers that can also put stuff back. So, opponent's going to go for the Evenly here, completely fine. It's extremely obvious what card I keep. I used Ash Blossom. I really could have just used the Purrely Noir effect too. If I'd used that on Kashtira Riseheart, then it would have also caused the Theosis to kind of fizzle. If they had like Ogre or Fenrir or Unicorn in hand, they might have been able to special it, but given that they went for normal Riseheart, activate Theosis, I do think that it was probably just better to have just used the Purrely Noir effect. I don't know though, to be fair, Cash, a lot of their catch-up cards, a lot of their extenders don't necessarily get triggered by Ash Blossom. Although, what an extender could they have realistically had, right? Birth, again, maybe the, like a follow-up Unicorn or Ogre in hand. I think them specialing Ogre and adding Prep was mainly what I was thinking about, but either way, I don't think it's really that big of a deal. Let's see, is that 3 or 4 games? I think that's only 3, so let's watch one more here. Okay, and our final game is going to be up against Horus Thunder Dragon. You know, I think the Horus package gets a lot of unfair flack. I think a lot of people are really frustrated with the Horus package because of Horus Stun in particular, which I think is definitely more of a symptom of Floodgates. I'm kind of seeing what happened with Runic happen again with Horus now, where, like, you know, in the past, people were like, Runic Stun sucks, ban Runic Fountain. It's like, or we could just hit Floodgates. Like, no, hit Runic cards. And it's like, oh, but Runic enables a lot of really cool decks, but sure, let's only focus on the Sun variant. And yeah, now the same thing is happening with Horus. I, again, mostly on like the subreddit and stuff, see people like, ban King Sark, ban Imseti, Horus Sun is too good, and it's like, or we could hit Floodgates, because, you know, the Horus engine enables a lot of really cool decks, but I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players complaining about stuff that's good? Huh? No. Well, I mean, they do. I'm just teasing a little bit here. So, yeah, here we are going to be under the Maxi, I believe. They did resolve a Maxi against us. Yeah, so I'm going to go basically into the Purrely Beauty. Triple attack to hand rip. We're going to take Druistorm because the rest of their hand was like Thunder Dragon Dark, Thunder Dragon Roar, Gamma, and Driver. Definitely don't want to enable the Gamma, nor do I want to give them draws. So, unfortunately for me, they ripped Bestial Lubellion, which, like, to be fair, they did have a lot of pretty good top decks here. Any Bestial monster, Batteryman Solar, King Sark, would have all been, Imseti would have all been quite good here. Yeah, no, with what they had in hand alone wasn't enough to come back, I don't think. But no, yeah, with the Bestial Lubellion here, that's definitely going to be a bit of a different story. Of course, I am going to wait until they have a monster on the field to use the Max C effect. Don't want to let them get a free Gamma for no reason. Looks like they're going to also, kind of like I did last turn, not really play under Max C. I know I said, I think it was either in the last video or earlier in this one, that like, oh yeah, if you've got Max C, or if you're under Max C, then you can just try to like play through it and win that turn. But again, Purrely, especially at a hand like this, doesn't have that many opportunities to OTK. Although here, actually, I do have Happy and Delicious. Oh, wait, I have Happy and Delicious. Should I not have, Oh, can I not have just OTK'd here? Like, I'm going for a Zeus, but couldn't I have just... Oh, I think I screwed this up. Hang on. How do I play this turn out? So, we drew Eep. Activated Happy. For regular Purrely, why did I go for regular Purrely and not Purrely? That's really weird. I don't know why I summoned Purrely and not Purrely. Was that a misclick? I feel like I would have remembered if it was, but... Yeah, I should have summoned Purrely, added my friend, yeah. And then I could have... Wow, I did not play this well at all. I don't even think I think I just got sidetracked on the idea of going into a Zeus, really. Oh no, but we're under Colossus. Yeah. So that would have been... No, duh, jeez. Oh, why didn't I just do the OTK where that involves me adding a bunch of cards? Well, probably because of the Colossus that stops you from adding cards. Also, for as much as people just, like, complain and whine and moan about Thunder Dragon Colossus, I gotta tell you something. This is the first time I've been under Colossus in literally, I can't even tell you how long. This has been the first Colossus I've seen in months. When Colossus and Arch Nemesis Protoss got unbanned on the recent TCG list, a lot of people complained that, like, how can you let these floodgates into the format? But, like, they're so narrow, right? They're so specific in how they floodgate you. I think they're fine for that reason. Like, Colossus did kind of screw me over here, but Purrely is a deck that's very much about adding a lot of cards from deck to hand. And not every deck would get as screwed over by a Colossus as this one did. I don't know, people complain about Colossus, but not about Droll, which is kind of baffling to me. It's like, yeah, Droll is only for one turn, but Droll can also be played in anything. Colossus is very, very, very specific. That's the other thing, too. Like, I think it's so disingenuous the way people are like, you can't unban Colossus and Protoss, they're generic floodgates. And it's like, you cannot just jam Colossus and Protoss into any deck. I think that's really disingenuous to try to paint them in that light to try to prove your point. But anyway, yeah, here, I'm just going to let my opponent do cool Thunder Dragon stuff, because I really do think that Thunder Dragon is a very cool deck. Oh, you know what I should have done? In preparation for that little mini rant, I should, like... I've actually kind of been meaning to go on YGO Pro Deck and see how many top place finishing decks have actually run Protoss and Colossus since they've been unbanned in the TCG. I would not at all be surprised if that number was 0. And that people were complaining about literally nothing. But anyway. Alright, that's going to be our last duel for this video. And yeah, that's going to be it. I don't know why I said and. Anyway, thanks so much, folks, for watching all these games here. Let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.